DS18 12-inch mid-bass Chuchero with black diamond DS18 horn driver, DS18 tweeters, and 12-inch DS18 mid-bass. The two 12-inch mid-bass are going to be wired for channel 2, and the horn driver and tweeter is going to be wired for channel 1. The tweeters in series and in parallel back with the horn driver. So both the DS18 mid-bass are going to be wired in parallel together for channel 2. So it will be channel 2 positive and channel 2 negative on the Chuchero plug. And that's how France's military splice the other mid-bass. Poke a hole, stick it through, wrap around, solder, repeat. Try to solder all your connections. You heat up the wire and let the solder melt in. That's your capillary action. Try to tape up all your connections after you solder and put a little tie wrap on it, just in case you're using that 99-cent store electrical tape. But of course we use 3M. Okay, the tweeter is going to be wired in series. So the positive input of the first tweeter is going to have the capacitor, and then the negative of this first tweeter is going to go to the positive of the second tweeter. So that wire is coming from the first tweeter, the negative, and it's going to go to the positive of the second tweeter. And that's the negative connection of tweeter number 2. And that's going to share the same parallel connection with the horn driver. Try to use always OFC wire, copper wire. Don't use that cheap stuff, that CCA. You don't want that. Always use copper. Don't be so ghetto. And the horn driver gets the capacitor on the positive input, and that's going to share the connection with the two tweeters as a parallel. Okay, so the two tweeters are wired in series and in parallel with the horn driver. Then the two mid basses are going to be wired in parallel for the other channel. And that completes this Chuchero, how we wire it. By the way, the final impedance on this will be 4 ohms, because these are 4 ohms each. Wired in series will bring you 8 ohms. Wired in parallel with the horn driver, because it's an 8 ohm horn driver, will give you a final impedance of 4 ohms. The mid bass are 8 ohms each. Wired in parallel will also give you a final impedance of 4 ohms. That will make the amplifier really happy, and it shouldn't get hot unless you're using something really ghetto. Again, when possible, military splice everything, solder, insulate it, and put a tie wrap on it, so in case it gets too hot, it unravels. Or if you're using that cheap 99-cent store electrical tape, definitely zip tie it. When soldering, the solder should always be shiny, not dull. Shiny, not dull. By the way, don't ever use sheetrock screws. That's really horrible. Use the right screws. And that's the last connection for the last mid bass. Negative connection, sharing the same negative as the other mid bass. And that's the last wire. That's the positive connection of the mid base, sharing the same positive connection for the other mid base. And that completes it.